As a Palestinian, how are you feeling right now?
Being Palestinian is an honor. I'm angry, I'm furious, but you're also numb. Ammi, Allah yashfi, has cancer. We live in Yatta. We want to go to Ramallah, which is it takes like 2 hours to get there. All the cities are closed off. He couldn't go to his chemotherapy. They're in people's land. They kick people out to build these settlements.
How do they kick people out?
My family's experiencing it right now. They cut off the water, they cut off the electricity. They make things so unlivable that you need to leave. We reached the gate of Al-Aqsa. This is the first time I've ever been close to Jerusalem. The whole perimeter is crawling with Israeli soldiers. As beautiful as it was, it ruined my experience knowing that they control it. How can the world not see that? They hide behind anti-Semitism like cowards. Non-Zionist Jews are the forefront of this movement. Associating Zionism with Judaism is an insult to Judaism.
Do you experience survivor's guilt?
I never wanted to go home more than ever. The soil they want to kill people for, I want to go live there.
Have you been to Gaza?
Gaza's impossible to go to. It's jail, it's prison. Never seen it, never been there. But this is the most personal pain I've ever felt in my life. It's hard.
It's hard because you feel like your hands are tied.
The test right now isn't for the people in Gaza, they passed. It's for us.
Before we start today's episode, I just wanted to thank you for taking the time out of your day and giving this podcast to listen. And I also wanted to remind you that the only way this podcast will ever grow is with your support and with your help. So subscribe to the podcast, like this video, and now let's get the show started.
Welcome aboard Middle East Airlines.
والمتوجهة إلى
طيران الشرق الأوسط يرحب
مدينة القدس العربية.
Hi Jenna, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm good. Thank you for coming to Not From Here. Welcome. We haven't done an episode in a while, and I really wanted to come back with a story from a Palestinian because that's the reason I stopped. And as a Palestinian, how are you feeling right now?
Honestly, I feel like I feel like you see all our pain, like just on social media. You can open Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and you see everything. But honestly, I only have one word, and it's alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Like, I'm actually being serious. And I don't mean this like in a cliche way, but I've always thought as being Palestinian as like the biggest honor of my life. And everyone around me knows that. Everyone knows that like I'm probably one of the most prideful people you'll ever meet. But especially right now, like I can irfa rasi, I can like look the oppressor in the eye and just know I go to bed at night knowing not only is Allah with me, but the righteous are with me.
So a feeling of gratitude. That's how you feel. Everything happened about a month or so ago, October 7th. Right now, after like a month, you feel gratitude. But how did your emotions kind of play out during that month? Like, take me on that roller coaster a little bit.
October 7th, I remember I woke up and you just like, you know what's going to happen. Like every year actually, you just know it's going to be bad in Gaza, and it's not a mainstream thing. I've always noticed 2014, it was slightly mainstream. 2021, Sheikh Jarrah, Gaza. Last year, it's like only the Arab talk about it, to be honest. Muslims, some people were like involved with Palestine, but I didn't expect it to be like this bad. I didn't expect it to be so large scale, so horrific, and I didn't expect it to be out in the open. Like I can open my phone and see anything. But whenever it plays out, you just know. Whenever it's anything like this plays out, you know who's in the right and who's in the wrong. It shows people's true colors. And especially right now, I've never seen so many celebrities come out, so many influencers, political figures. It shows their true colors. And alhamdulillah, I know who to follow and who to not to follow, to be honest. Like, you go and you notice that people are trying to silence us, and it's so obvious more than ever. You know who's righteous, you know who's not, you know who actually cares about the cause and who doesn't. And yeah, like it obviously is heartbreaking, and I'm not gonna lie to you, it's very hard to go through life knowing that your brothers and sisters are suffering, but knowing you're doing your best, and alhamdulillah, I really am trying and everyone around me is trying to do their best to get the message out there, to let people know what's going on and to stand with Palestine. And alhamdulillah, it's been going.
So you're first surprised because we haven't seen this kind of reaction from the mainstream outlet like we did on this one. But tell me a little bit about your history with Palestine.
So I was born and raised in Dearborn. Fully Palestinian, 100%. I'm from Yatta, Qada al-Khalil, south of the West Bank. I went back and forth my whole life, and then I went and lived in Palestine for 2 years, and I went and studied there. Obviously, you grow up just knowing occupation, knowing there's Palestine, Israel, you know what to say, what to not to say.
What are those things that you're allowed to say or you're not allowed to say?
Like you are, obviously you can't say much about the resistance or anything like that, but you know to tell, even like as a 5-year-old, I would know there's an occupation, tell the people around you, it's Palestine, it's not Israel. It's Palestine, it's not Israel. Tell them about how people are living there. Tell them how about occupation, genocide, ethnic cleansing, 1948. I learned that like ever since I was little. And so when I went and lived there, alhamdulillah, there's no like, the West Bank is obviously significantly better, but it's still like unlivable, to be honest. And I never really realized how bad apartheid is until you live there. You notice how...
What are some things that you saw?
Well, the water is controlled, electricity is controlled, and
even in the West Bank?
Even in the West Bank. They say, oh, the West Bank is independent and the West Bank doesn't have Hamas. What happens? We're still under direct occupation. When I want to go in, I can't fly to Palestine. I have to go to Jordan, go through 3 different checkpoints in Jericho, which is like obviously extremely hot. You go, they treat you like animals. They say they dehumanize us to a point where the people there, the soldiers there, don't look at you as human. And imagine like brutality to like the farthest angle. So let's say hypothetically something happens in Gaza, like right now. The West Bank, all the cities are closed off from each other. My uncle, Ammi, Allah yashfi, has cancer. We live in Yatta. We want to go to Ramallah, which is about, with the checkpoints, the streets, and how they have their urban planning completely separately for us than for them. It takes like 2 hours to get there, or even 3.
Just from Yatta to
Ramallah. What happened? They closed off all the cities from each other. As of right now, all the cities are closed off. He couldn't go to his chemotherapy.
Oh, wow.
And they don't give any humanitarian exception. They don't care. Just last week, they shot a child, a special needs child in Yatta, just for getting near the border of the city.
When you hear stuff like that, what goes through your head?
I'm angry. I'm furious. But you're also numb. Like, it's something you see a lot. Like, growing up, that is constantly what you see. Like, imagine how disturbing it is that you're numb to something like this.
Yeah.
And the people there are numb. In the West Bank, they're not. This is nothing new. Nothing new. They're obviously appalled. They're obviously horrified. But what else do you expect?
So you still have family there right now?
My whole family's there.
Your mom, your dad?
Yeah. My mom and dad are here. My grandma, my uncles are all there.
How has the treatment been there?
It's
because all we are seeing is the scenes coming out of Gaza, and people kind of like, they kind of threw a blind eye towards the West Bank just because it's not as horrific there. But what is happening in the West Bank right now?
Actually, there are protests, and the number could be wrong, but hundreds have been killed. Jenin, Nablus, Khalil. I think just last night they raided Jenin. They raided Nablus. They raided the refugee camps in the West Bank. And obviously, it's not as covered by social media, obviously, but the scenes there are horrific. Jenin, obviously nothing new this year. Last year, it's been horrible. But I think over hundreds have been killed at the protests. Peaceful protests shot.
they control all, like...
They control everything. Actually, with the peace plan, they shouldn't even be in the West Bank. But they are in every city, every corner, every street. They are actually trying to occupy certain lands. Silwad, Masafir Yatta. They're trying to occupy it right now.
Talk to me about how the settlement thing works, because we hear settlements, but I feel like a lot of people don't understand it.
Okay, so the West Bank, by the partition plan, should not be touched.
Okay.
There are illegal settlements in the West Bank. So I'm going to give you like just my point of view.
Okay.
Imagine you're driving from the border to your house. You want to go home.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine you see like these big compounds, and they're even getting near it, you'll get shot. There are different streets, different, like imagine segregation in America.
Yeah.
Modern day in Palestine. They're in people's land. They kick people out to build these settlements.
How do they kick people out?
Easily. For my family's experiencing it right now in Masafir Yatta. They cut off the water. They cut off the electricity. They make things so unlivable that you need to leave.
So it's not someone knocks on your door, tells you leave.
No.
It's, let's make this
Hell.
where it's, yeah.
They make it hell. They raid schools. They terrorize children. And by the way, these settlers are armed. They are provided guns. They're provided weapons. And they can do whatever they want. No repercussions. It breaks international law. It breaks humanitarian law. And it breaks, honestly, the law of morality. And what do? They still do it.
Okay. And, okay, let's say a settler, they do this. Where does the family leave?
The family, sometimes they go to different cities. A lot of them have to escape. Like, they have to go to Jordan. They have to go to any of the neighboring countries. But they don't care. They don't provide, like, oh, we're going to take this from you. Let me give you this. They're not going to do that.
So they just leave the house, and then Israeli people just sit in the house. That's their house now.
Yep, they take it.
Okay, and you said your family's going through that right now?
Yeah, in Masafir Yatta.
They're cutting off their electricity.
They cut off water. They cut off electricity. Just 2 days ago, they raided a school. And it wasn't the army that raided the school. It was settlers dressed up as soldiers. And they went and raided a school, an elementary school too. Not even a high school, elementary school. They went, took down the flag, holding rifles. And they wanted to just terrorize everyone. Obviously, like, we fight so hard, we're never going to back down.
Yeah.
You could see in the video, the guy filming it is like, "Rah das عليك," like, don't get near me, don't get my family, don't get near my land. We still fight. No one's leaving. No one's going to leave.
And this is constant.
Constant. Every single day.
Because a lot of people want you to believe that this started on October 7th.
This has been happening, I think, for around 30 years. But it started from the Nakba.
Yeah.
1948.
When you said you went and lived there for 2 years, how was that like? Because you're moving from America, which is everything is easy here. As hard as it gets, everything is very easy here. You live in the West Bank. What are some memories of that transition?
It was very hard. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Why did you go in the first place?
My parents wanted me to learn Arabic.
Okay.
They wanted me to like get in touch with my culture and my deen. And honestly, I don't blame them for it. That's an amazing experience. I wouldn't trade it for anything. So here you have all your resources. Here you have rights. In America, you always have rights. No matter how marginalized you are, no matter what, you have rights. In Palestine, you do not have rights. So I used to go to school, and I'd see in the morning, like, if it's not even direct pressure from the Israelis, there would be, like, I think 30 days a year where they had to shut down because the Israelis are raiding the city. I remember there was a girl, this is just, like, the earliest memory I have, like, just to show how these people are so used to it. There's a girl in my class, she brought her mom to tell a story, just like her experience. And her mom went to jail for liking a post on Facebook. Really? And I was the only person in that whole class who cried. Because this is the first time I ever heard anything like this. Yeah. I remember there's so many people with diseases that they can't treat because they're not giving the resources to treat. just another example, there's like, you know how we have vaccines and they're mandated. I remember they use the same needle for like 20 girls because they have no resources. And the schools are built based on donations from other countries. Like the school I went to was a direct donation from Japan.
Yeah.
And also like higher education. The degree, first of all, the economy in the West Bank is obviously not great. There's no economy. There's no infrastructure. People are like need to leave to get an education. The colleges and the universities are limited because of, again, the occupation. Society doesn't progress under occupation. So people are stuck with mindsets that are like
very old
because they're under occupation. Like,
yeah.
What do you expect? You can't even blame them anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And obviously I was very shocked. Like, imagine coming from Dearborn to Yatta, where again, I wasn't the greatest at Arabic at the time. Learning was very hard. It was hard to make friends. And imagine just like the direct pressure of the occupation on top of that. Leaving the city so very hard. You can't like go, like let's say here you want to go on Michigan Ave and hang out with your friends. That's almost impossible. It's almost impossible.
In what way is it impossible?
Transportation's very hard. Cars are not registered in the system easily. So you can't drive from city to city because of the registration on the plate. So let's say if I want to go hang out in the city of Al-Khalil, very hard. That takes like days of planning just to do that.
Just going from one city to another.
Just going from one city to another. Like I've been to Ramallah maybe 3 times in my life. It's only like 2 hours away. I went to Jerusalem once illegally. I'm not allowed into Jerusalem. Actually, this is my favorite story. So 2021 I was there. And it's very hard to get a permit. I'm a West Bank citizen.
Okay.
It's so hard to get a permit to
What's a West Bank citizen? Is that like a thing there?
Yeah,
like
so you have a green ID and a blue ID.
Okay.
So the Palestinian Authority controls the West Bank.
Okay.
So I have a green ID. So green ID, literally you can only move within the West Bank.
Okay.
Or leave to Jordan. Blue ID is Palestinians living under Israeli occupation in 1948 territory.
Okay.
Blue ID are granted more rights of movement. I'm almost positive they're granted Israeli citizenships, but not equal rights as is other Israelis. And also they tax Palestinian citizens in Israel 3 times as much to make it harder for them to live there.
Okay.
So as a West Bank, holding a West Bank ID.
The green ID.
You need to apply for a permit to be able to go visit Al-Aqsa, Yafa, Haifa. I didn't have enough time for that. And some people go tahrib. They go run through the mountains. They go on the bus and they go. I found a group of women who were going, and I went, me and my cousins and my sister. And it was very dangerous. We were literally running on a mountain at a checkpoint to get to the bus. We went on the bus. And we got there, and usually they let you slide. They know you're there because you're a woman. If you were a man, they would turn you back.
Yeah.
We reached the gate of Al-Aqsa. This is the first time I've ever been close to Jerusalem. And you see the golden dome, and there's like 4 different gates. And I get in, I reach the gate, and it's Israeli soldiers in Jerusalem, especially Al-Quds, Al-Aqsa. The whole Saha, the whole perimeter is crawling with Israeli soldiers.
Yeah.
So I go there, they check us, they check my ID, and they let us in.
They saw that you have a green ID.
They saw I have a green ID. They saw I didn't have a permit, but they let me through. They were like, you know what, they're women. This is not frequent. Like they barely let you in.
Yeah.
But alhamdulillah, I was very lucky. I go in, and it was the most beautiful view you'll ever see in your life.
Wow.
Al-Aqsa. And knowing I fought my whole life to be there, it was actually the most, people know how I felt. Like, it was the best day of my life. Praying for Al-Aqsa and seeing, this is where the Rasul ﷺ ascended into heaven. Seeing how beautiful Al-Quds is, you kind of know why they took it. Because of how beautiful and holy it is. And, we try to stay within this the perimeter because we didn't want to go further. But as beautiful as it was, it ruined my experience knowing that they control it. Every step you take, there's a million settlers and soldiers. imagine the Zionists have the right to go. They can go anywhere they want, but I can't. I'm like, my freedom is very limited. My freedom of movement is very limited. But honestly, just seeing it was so worth it. And then we went to Jaffa. Do you know where Jaffa is?
No.
It's on the water. They call it Atrocities al-Bahr.
Okay.
It's Tel Aviv.
Yeah.
It was genuinely the most beautiful sight I've ever seen in my life. The water is gorgeous. It's like, I can't even put it into words. And I'm literally getting emotional thinking about it. Seeing like everything there is historic, and you can see the parts where they colonize and try to modernize, and the parts that are actually Palestinian, and you can feel the history, you can feel your people in it, and yeah, like it was the best experience.
Was there like, because obviously it's a surreal moment, you look at the like the Golden Dome, and then you visit Jaffa, you're scared though at the same time.
Definitely.
Because you're not allowed, even into Jaffa, you're not allowed, right? Are people looking at you differently?
Jaffa is very much colonized. It's like Tel Aviv. It's like the hot spot for Israelis. You're definitely getting dirty looks. Shops give you dirty looks. And if you're limited, like you have to go to a shop there, you're treated so badly. Like ainak, like they're racist, they're Islamophobic. Not even Islamophobic. You can be visibly Arab and they're gonna treat you badly. They act like they can't speak English. Let's say if you want to go buy water or something, they act like they can't speak English. They hire the prices there are insane. And then you see like the little bits of colonization, like the falafel shops that are owned by Israelis.
Yeah.
Or the shawarma that are owned by Israelis. There's like something called agot. It's like a Palestinian pastry stuffed with date, and they call it Israeli. It fills you up with so much rage. Like it made me not want to come back because of how mad I got. And but you know what? Like just seeing the ocean just calmed me down. But just I remember just ranting to my friend. This is actually like, you know how in the movies they show you like plots of this person stole this, and it's like, how can the world not see that? Like how does anyone go on a birthright trip?
Yeah.
And see how the Palestinians are treated and come back as Zionists? How do you do that? Like it's racism embedded in racism, colonization, modern day like you know how the Native Americans were treated? Exactly the same.
Explain birthright for people who don't know.
Birthright is, as a Palestinian indigenous to the land, DNA test to prove it. I'm not allowed. It's very much impossible to get in. I'm lucky. I'm very much privileged to have an ID so I can even go into the West Bank. But there are like Palestinians from the diaspora who are, let's say their parents were kicked out in 1948, 1967 to Lebanon, Kuwait. They can't go back. So I'm very lucky for that, alhamdulillah. But birthright grants any Jewish individual a free trip to Israel. Anyone above, I think, 16.
Across the world.
College campuses give any Jewish student that. They give you the application here, fill it out. And I know, like, being at Wayne State, seeing the Jewish individuals who can go to Jerusalem, they can go to Jaffa, Haifa, Akka, and it took everything in me to get to Jerusalem. Knowing they can go there whenever they want fills any Palestinian with so much rage. It's appalling, but that's how the world is.
Yeah. So how did that day end? The best day in your life?
We came back. It was like around midnight. We got on the bus. Straight to Yalta, alhamdulillah.
No problems.
No problems, alhamdulillah. I was lucky.
Do you think about that day a lot?
I do. It was my favorite day ever. It's a wallpaper on my phone, my laptop. You see it.
And have you been to Palestine after that?
Yeah, I went the year after, but I wasn't able to go to Jerusalem.
Yeah. And have you been to Gaza?
Gaza's impossible to go to.
Okay, so if you're in the West Bank, you're not.
No, you can't. That's impossible. Probably a white American can get in there easier than me. It's impossible. Even a white American, it's even impossible for them. It's jail. It's prison.
Okay.
Open air prison.
Okay. I didn't know that. When you see these scenes coming out of Gaza, when you see how do your parents react to it? You know, like people that your parents were born in Palestine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like how do they react to that?
They're this is personal. It's a personal experience. Gaza is only like 2 hours away from me. Never seen it. Never been there. Never met a single Ghazawi in Gaza. But this is the most personal pain I've ever felt in my life. My parents live on TV. They live on the news. Al Jazeera's on in my house nonstop. I've never seen my mom cry as much. I've never seen my dad cry as much. I've never seen my family my family has never been so connected in our lives. It's hard.
What's one thing you saw come out of Gaza that stays with you, that you think about a lot? There's a lot, there's a lot of like gruesome footage. There's a lot of like just all of it feels so bad, but is there something that came out as a Palestinian, you look at that and be like, man.
Honestly, there are two things. Seeing the image of the North Gazawis, moving to the south on foot with their whole lives packed into bags, nothing hit more than that. It's a modern day Nakba. People wonder how did the Nakba happen? Boom, right there. And that broke me. And Jed, like, seeing people talk about, yes, the casualties and everything, but people lost their homes. People lost their universities. People lost their whole lives. Like, imagine in the span of a month, your college is gone. Your school is gone. The streets you love being on is gone. Imagine waking up and Michigan Ave's gone. Imagine waking up and everything you know is gone.
Your family.
Your family's gone. The rubble. Everything you love is buried under rubble. They flattened it. They carpet bombed Gaza. And seeing people pack their lives into bags and walk on the streets, I've never been more mad in my life.
What's the second thing?
Seeing the gruesome images, obviously, they hurt a lot. But the most emotional thing I've ever seen was like a boy crying for his dad who was dead. And he was like opening up the body bag and kissing his head. Nothing hurt more than that.
Do you experience survivor's guilt?
Yes. It's hard. Like, it's so easy to be caught up in the moment here. It's so easy to be caught up in, like, at university, at events, at gatherings. But, like, I just go home and think, like, I'm so privileged to be here. But to also think that they were granted the highest honor. Mm. They're alive.
Yeah. It's hard because you feel like your hands are tied, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, you sit around with your friends and you ask, like, what are we supposed to do? And then what everyone says is, like, just keep posting, keep sharing about. Like, even that act, like, you're so privileged that you have a phone, that you're scrolling, that your internet's so quick and you're going and, I'm sharing this. And at the same time, I don't think any of us can comprehend how bad the situation is for that person that's kissing his dad's body bag, you know, or that little kid that was shivering and it was lost for words. It's, I don't know, like what are we supposed to do?
Obviously pray. Dua. I took it upon myself, alhamdulillah, to like strive my best deen-wise, dunya-wise. Deen-wise, salah, som, dua. Dunya-wise, call your representatives. Dunya-wise, protest. Dunya-wise, post. And not just post. I know like we have private Instagrams, probably everyone knows. But to post and attend events, support your Palestinian friends, donate, obviously, and try to learn more, not just about now, but learn about Palestine's history as a whole.
And that's one thing that I think a lot of people opened a lot of people's eyes, even Arab Muslims, everyone. It's like, let's try to understand this really way more, because I'll never be able to understand it the way you understand it. You've lived there, you've seen it firsthand, and even more so to people who are living there now. But what do you feel like with all this added knowledge that people are acquiring, what is something that we're still not getting about this occupation?
I think we always look at the bigger picture instead of the smaller picture. We look at, they killed, they bombed, they shot, they did this and that. But to look at a humane level, these people are the most racist people you've ever seen in your life. They hide behind anti-Semitism like cowards. Because we as a whole, I will never be racist. I will never be discriminating against anyone for their religion, race. But they are the most blatantly racist people in the world, and no one says anything about it. If I said one wrong thing, I will be doxxed. One wrong thing, my whole information will be on the internet. There are websites made for Palestinian students, Palestinian advocates, to dox them. I don't want to even list them, but they are out there. You will search up someone's name. You will see where they go, what they do, their employment history, where do they live, just for speaking out about Palestine. They never even done anything wrong. They will be called, and the website is literally made to call out anti-Semitic people when nothing these people have ever said or done is inherently anti-Semitic.
It's so frustrating. It's a card that I just read a tweet by someone. It's like when someone says free Palestine, it equals kill all Jews. And you'll see at these protests, no one ever brought up Jews for Jews. If anything, when we were protesting in Detroit, there were Jews marching with us.
Yeah.
It's people aren't understanding that there's kind of, you have to remove someone being Jewish than someone being Zionist supporter. And that's where the action is, right? It's we're not saying we don't want to live with Jews. We're saying we need Zionists to go away. Yeah. I think that's like one thing that people aren't understanding still enough. They're still associating you saying that you want your parents to live in their home back in the West Bank with you saying, I want all Jews around us to be dead. And I don't think that's what you're saying.
It's a tactic they use so that a lot of people sympathize with them and then don't look at the facts. And I feel like any Zionist, any argument, any debate, they use the same recycled points. It doesn't take a genius to realize that. If you look at Piers Morgan, for example, I don't know if have you ever watched like Muhammad Hijab and the Rabbi and then Piers Morgan. The same points are always made. Anti-Semitic, we have a right to the land. Well, why aren't the Arab countries helping? Why aren't they taking in refugees? It's the same thing. And if anything, you'll see right now, Jewish Voice for Peace are the forefront of this movement. Non-Zionist Jews are the forefront of this movement. They're the most passionate about this movement because associating Zionism with Judaism is an insult to Judaism.
Right.
It is. Judaism is so close to Islam. They're one of the Abrahamic faiths. They're the people of the book. And I will never associate a Jewish person, a Jewish individual, with the horrific ideology of Zionism.
Yeah. We shouldn't.
No.
If you really think deeply between you and yourself, Jenna, do you have hope?
I do. I believe in Islam. I go to sleep knowing Allah's with me. I know what's going to happen. I just wait.
How do you think this plays out?
It's all Allah's plan. I can't say anything, but I know who the righteous are going to win. The people who their last words, La ilaha illallah, they're going to win. Seeing the people who are not even afraid they're in the face of death and they're not afraid. the people who their families are passing away, they're saying alhamdulillah. You think they're going to lose?
I don't think they're going to lose.
They're not going to lose. We are the most non-violent people. And I go to sleep knowing, as much as I do, God's with me.
You know, it's so... It puts you in a state of like awe when you look at a person that just lost his mom, just lost his dad or daughter, his little kids, and they're in front of the camera and like standing still, standing like wide and saying alhamdulillah. It's like, how are these people built? You know, like I'm Lebanese, where my friends are, my close circle is Lebanese people, and we're having this conversation like we haven't seen people as resilient as Palestinian people.
Because we were born into this.
It's very tough to see the scenes. Like we're seeing them on the phone and we're crying and we're shaking and like it messes us up. But then you look at the dad and he's saying alhamdulillah, they're with Allah, and like there's a lot of faith there, you know?
I mean, being born even in America and raised in a Palestinian household, you're resilient. Jenna Mahmood is a Palestinian. That itself is resilience. I was born knowing that there are people against me, and I will keep my head held up high, keep my identity as prominent as it can be, just because I'm Palestinian. It's an honor. Being Palestinian is an honor. It's in that there was a saying one of my friends told me. I don't know where they got it from, but the test right now isn't for the people in Gaza. They passed. It's for us.
Yeah, you have to learn from that. What did you learn from your time in Palestine that you come and apply back to a very different world here in America?
I learned how we are actually the most privileged people in the world. That's what I learned. I learned that, and again, I still sometimes forget this because it's so easy to be caught up in the dunya, be caught up in the life we're living. We are so privileged. The education we're granted here is privileged. Even our problems here, even our biggest problems here are nothing compared to there. And I've never seen a single one of my cousins, my relatives ever complain. I've never heard them complain. Ever, ever, ever. I've never heard. My cousin got shot on live news and was paralyzed from the waist down. Never heard a single person in my family complain. In Masafriyata.
And it goes back to how numb they are to all of this.
They know who's gonna win. It's faith. You just need to have faith. And what I learned, especially right now, is that my full faith is gonna make us free. Faith and conviction and action, you know what's gonna win.
Do you think this will kind of play out? You, at the very beginning of our conversation, you talked about like what happened in Sheikh Jarrah not too long ago. That was something that happened and it kind of died down and people kind of forgot about it. And we kind of lived our lives pretty similar. I'm talking from like us living here standpoint. But for me, this one feels different to where I'm not able to live my life before what happened on October 7th and after this all ends. Like even if it kind of dwindles down, and I hope it doesn't, I'm talking from like a media perspective, I don't think we can live our lives the same. Like what happened before is way different than the life we have to live after this.
I never wanted to go home more than ever. I never wanted to leave. Like I don't, obviously living there is so impossible sometimes, but knowing inshallah ya Rab it's free, I want to go live there. I don't want to live here.
Really?
I want to go home. I want to go where to the soil they want to kill people for. I want to go live there.
You want to go back home?
I want to go back home.
What's one thing that we didn't talk about that you think we should have?
I think more people should talk about the minor interactions between the idea for the Israelis with the Palestinians. I think more people should talk about it.
Tell me about it.
I think I'm just gonna give you like a small example. Like when you're in the border, and they're screaming at you in broken Arabic, when they're literally like it's like a cage. Actually, I have a real life example.
Go ahead.
When I went 2022 to apply for a permit to go to Jerusalem. I went to the legal way. I want to go apply. So the next time I come, I want to go to Jerusalem. It's metal, and there's like metal, the metal doors,
Yeah.
the detectors. We went in, and it's like a cage. I'm not kidding. Real life cage. It's hot, no AC. It's open in the inside, and I waited for I think 3 hours in
Just
there.
standing.
Standing to get in line, get the interview, get the paper. When we were leaving, alhamdulillah, I got it. When I was leaving, they locked the metal doors on purpose. They do it on purpose. I had to climb over this whole thing is metal. It's like metal pickets. I had to climb over it to get outside. My parents had to wait in there because they obviously couldn't. I waited outside, I think, for like an hour for them to even just press a button. They didn't. And people were stuck in there for like hours. It's hot, no AC. Again, no AC.
Do you ask like, hey, can I leave?
We ask, please, like, we need to leave. People need to leave. People have jobs. People have this.
No response?
No response. Not even a response. Or like, oh, we'll get to it. Or no. They will literally say no. We'll get to it. And people are waiting. And imagine how dehumanizing it is. Like, just to think about
You're
it.
standing in a metal cage. It's literally like sheep.
Like sheep, yeah. And I think sometimes before October 7th, this is normal. This is something we go through every day. But to think now how these interactions not only shape you to think that you're an animal, but they dehumanize you. Do you think that would happen in the United States?
No.
Would that happen in democracy?
No.
Would that happen in a free state, a free country? No. So why are you priding yourself in the only democracy in the Middle East when you treat people like animals? That's just an example. There's a million more. That's something I lived through. And me, like, imagine me, someone from Dearborn climbing up a wall to get to the other side and thinking that's normal. That's not normal. None of that is normal. And I refuse to be treated like an animal ever again. And to let my people, who are the most prideful, honorable, generous people on the planet, to be treated like that. And to think it's normal, because it's not normal.
It's not normal. If you could write a handwritten message to the people of Gaza, knowing that every single person in Gaza is going to read your message, what would you tell them?
I would tell them the righteous are watching you. And the right people are watching you, and it's more than you think. Because I've never seen more people stand up for Palestine ever in my life.
Thank you, Jenna. I
Thank
appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I hope your family's safe and they stay safe, and inshallah, you and we all get to go pray in Jerusalem.
Ya Rabbi, Ameen.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.